City Council special meeting. For closed session items, only items on the agenda are available for public comment. Let me give you the Zoom contact information, even though, quite frankly, if you didn't have it, you wouldn't be here, but here it is. The ID number is 965-7462-9336, and the password is 150125. We are taking public comment only by audio on this Zoom meeting. They are to be 2 minutes long and in order to use audio, you need to be on the phone and hit *9. I think that's all we have, and I am looking to see if we have any public comment. City Clerk, would you please help me out?
Yes, it looks like we do have public comments, so we'll go ahead and bring them in.
Thank you.
Hi, am I allowed to comment?
Yes.
On the items on the agenda, yes, you can.
Okay, thank you. My name is Emily Carroll. I graduated from Los Lomas in 2016, and I'd really like the council to consider the history of sundown towns in considering this curfew. Sundown towns are primarily white municipalities or neighborhoods that practice a form of segregation by excluding non-whites via some combination of local law, intimidation, and violence, particularly requiring people of color to leave town by sundown. I truly implore you to consider the impact of a curfew in further criminalizing and discriminating against people of color during this time. I also want to just talk to the council and ask if you feel nervous right now, if you feel like kind of the power structures are shifting beneath you. I think a lot of white people right now are looking at systems that they benefit from or at least don't suffer under and feeling scared and nervous right now. And I think that this curfew is a part of that. You really have the opportunity to move away from the history of Walnut Creek as a sundown town and have the opportunity to do the bare minimum, not to criminalize Black people, people of color, and their allies. So please be brave and take a stand during this momentous and painful time. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anybody else? City Clerk?
Looks like we have a couple others.
Yes, and trying to get the mute off them. Hold on 1 second. Jonathan, talking is permitted.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. I just wanted to comment first and thank you, all of you, for what you're doing and keeping folks safe. I know there's a lot going on. I would just comment that any curfew put in place is for the protection of citizens. I would urge you to look very closely, because I think that there's a very specific narrative being pushed, especially by media and other folks. I do not think that Walnut Creek or the majority of the people who live here and who work here are racist. I do not believe that for a minute. I don't think that our police force is racist. I don't believe that any of you are racist. And I don't think that putting in place things to protect us from folks who are coming from outside this area with the intent to cause damage and harm to our businesses, our homes, is a problem. And in fact, I would urge you to lock down more. I would say that if folks want to congregate, they could do so, but I would certainly not make it easy for them to get to that location. I would urge you to actually close off freeway access and make it even more difficult for people coming from the outside to get here. If they want to walk down to Central Park and protest, go for it, but you're going to have to walk, and then you're going to have to walk out. And I would urge you to be more strict when it comes to the protection of our businesses and our folks that are here. And again, I really appreciate you and thank you for the time.
Thank you, Jonathan. Next speaker, please.
Next speaker's ready.
You. Next speaker, please begin.
It's the same person that made a comment before. Racism is
I'm
about
sorry.
institutional power
I'm sorry.
structure.
I'm going to.
I'm muted.
Okay, thank you.
Let's
Just so they know,
raise
they're
their hand.
allotted 2 minutes and they cannot come back for a follow-up.
I lowered their hands.
Okay.
And that is it.
There are no
That's
other. I have a
Oh.
few written comments that I can read.
Okay, why don't you do that? And we appear to have a
Yeah.
couple more hands.
Okay. This comment is from Rami Kurdani. Dear council members, while we appreciate the quick action you are taking in these trying times, and we understand and fully support the right for peaceful protest, the breaking and entering and thievery cannot be allowed to continue. Our guests are scared to have anyone come to their door or leave their houses. One of our regular guests came to pick up her weekly Chipotle chicken sandwich and was actually crying in frustration as she paid. She was scared to death and just needed someone to listen to her story and show support. She also felt guilty because she was invading our space with the shelter in place order still in force. She was afraid to even ask for a tissue. There is no way to make people feel in our community. Further, the empty stores with no or little activity throughout all of our neighborhood has made them easy targets to these opportunistic thieves who invaded our streets last night. Enough is enough. The shelter-in-place order is now causing harm to everyone around us and needs to be rescinded. Please take any necessary action to ensure our community returns to normal and feels safe. Rami Kardani, Managing Director, Twisted Times Restaurant. The next comment is from Charles Krelling. Hello, council members. I'll be brief. After the events of last night, I think the police department needs to take a hard line on any potential or actual violence and or criminal activity. This is not the time for a light touch. We need to protect our beautiful city and stop the destruction now, as well as protect our citizens and business owners. I fully support the right to peaceful assembly and protest and am not suggesting that be hampered in any way. Thank you. That was Charles Krelling. And then I have one more. This is from Emily Carroll. Our honorable mayor and council member, do you know about the history of sundown towns? Sundown towns are primarily white municipalities or neighborhoods in the United States that practice a form of segregation by excluding non-whites via some combination of discriminatory local laws, intimidation, and violence, particularly requiring people of color to leave by sundown. I implore you to consider the impact of a curfew, further criminalizing and discriminating against people of color. Why can't PD work on de-escalation? Why has there been no meaningful response to the killing of Miles Hall? What work is Walnut Creek doing? There's real pain right now, real anguish. Black people and people of color are bearing the brunt of the COVID-19 crisis and the subsequent economic fallout. If you feel nervous right now, the protests and rebellions are working. If the majority white people in Walnut Creek feel nervous, the protests and rebellions are working. The power structure that white people benefit from is not stable. I implore you to deny this curfew. You have the opportunity to move away from Walnut Creek as a sundown town and to do the bare minimum to not criminalize Black people, people of color, and their allies. Be brave and take a stand during this momentous and painful time. Emily Carroll, Los Lomas, class of 16.
We have 3 more
Those
speakers.
are all the written comments, but it looks like we have some
We
live
do.
comments.
Right.
So we'll bring
Please
those.
bring them in.
Bring in the first speaker.
Yes.
Hello, you may speak.
Oh, hi, it's Pam Kessler, Walnut Creek Magazine. Thank you for meeting so quickly on this looting matter and the violence we had downtown yesterday. A couple of things I wanted to raise were, and I don't know if the chief of police is present, is the Twitter feed lit up and Walnut Creek was trending starting on Saturday. By 5 p.m., Target had closed their doors on Saturday evening. That same night, Apple boarded up their stores. Sunday, while I was downtown, various stores were also boarding up. However, when I received notification around 5:30 p.m. that there was an assault was taking place on Walnut Creek, I was able to drive down Newell, enter Broadway Plaza, and actually encounter the looters, and no police were on scene. I'm just wondering why the police did not respond quicker.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
We have Mark Hall.
Please begin.
Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay.
Talk a little closer to the mic, please.
All right. It's Mark Hall, and I just want to encourage you to be aggressive in protecting the downtown. We have been boarding up various properties and have had certain properties impacted by this. So I'd like to encourage you to be as aggressive as you can in the downtown core to protect our city. But I'd also like you to be aware that I think that this incident is focused on areas where the perpetrators feel that they can either get onto the freeway quick or perhaps bark quick. And I think that the application of a curfew should be looked at carefully and not necessarily applied at the same level in the shadelands as it would be in the downtown core. So it's just a consideration. I'm not sure exactly what the action is that you're planning here at this meeting, but we'd like to see a curfew in the shadelands area, specifically at closer to 7:30 in the evening. I'm not sure exactly what's being planned in the downtown core, but I think they are different areas, and I'd like to encourage you to be aggressive in those areas that are closer to the freeway. We had properties hit up on North Main as well, up near Treat, and as well as in the downtown core, but we don't perceive any issue in the shadelands. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
We have Charles A.
Charles? Good. Okay.
Walnut Creek. I am appalled at the unresponsiveness of this city government. And everyone that's calling in and using race as their talking point is ridiculous. There was no response to protect lives or property. That's disgusting. All of you should resign today because you're inept to carry out the duties to protect this city. It's disgusting. Let's see what your response is. Oh, let's do this, let's do that. You don't do anything. You knew it was coming. It's just like a hurricane. When the hurricane is coming, you get out. When people are going to come and attack you, you defend yourself. You're not Americans. Damn progressive communists. I'm done.
Okay, I'm not thanking him for that message. Next speaker, please.
We have Kamal.
Yeah, hi there. Thank you very much for taking time to talk to me. I'm just curious. I've been unable, and I've been scouring since the events yesterday. I've been scouring social media. I've been scouring your websites. I've been scouring the Walnut Creek Police Department websites. And there is a lack of clarity on directive from the City Council and from the police, where information is disseminated into a single place, and that single place is considered the single source of truth for all of the efforts that you are putting in place to protect this city and protect its citizens going forward. So my comment to you or suggestion would be that you somehow, in a very short space of time, create this single source of repository of information, and you get that out publicly so people can know that what they are reading is the truth from that verified source, and not reading the absolute garbage that I'm seeing on Twitter and this Facebook and other sources that are quite frankly unsubstantiated. And so you're leaving your citizens without the potential of understanding exactly what really is going on. I heard for the first time just now a Shadelands curfew. I live near there. I didn't know anything about it. It's things like that. So we really need to have that clarity of information given to your citizens, because that's vital. Because otherwise people are getting information from unverified sources. And I think I'm near my 2 minutes, so thank you for your time. But I would really like to see that somehow enacted very quickly, if possible. Thank you.
Thank you for your message. Next speaker, please.
We have a Michael Odom and unmuting now. Let's see. He'll come through here. Michael. Michael, you
Michael,
there?
can you unmute, please, Michael?
He's having trouble with unmuting.
Okay, let's go on to the next speaker and give Michael a chance to figure out how to do that, please.
Gary Skrell.
Thank you.
Good
Gary.
morning,
Good morning, Gary.
Gary Skrell here. I do not envy any of you in your positions right now. And I, as much as anybody, truly appreciate what you're all going through. I have to tell you, you know, I live downtown. You know, I've had a business downtown for the last 20 years. And I walked through downtown this morning in Broadway Plaza, and I was heartbroken. We've worked for decades to create this beautiful city for our residents, for our visitors, and I cannot urge you and the police department strong enough to increase their enforcement and to keep the peace and protect our city. If there's anything Walnut Creek Downtown as an organization or myself can do, please let us know. We're all in this together, and we've got to work a little bit harder. Thank you all. Good luck.
Thank you. Next speaker, maybe we can try Michael, and Michael can unmute.
Let's see, Michael, unmuting. Are you there, Michael? Michael seems to have an audio issue. We move down to Reliable.
Okay, please do.
Yeah,
Reliable?
yeah, I apologize. I didn't have, I don't know how to change the name on the display, but this is Victor Matarazzo, resident in Walnut Creek and a business owner as well. And my business is downtown. My residence is in the Northgate neighborhood. And, you know, I want to thank you for the time that you're taking here, but I really want to emphasize a couple of points. You know, I think we're at a unique moment in time here. I don't think what we're seeing is directly related to racism in any way, but I think that the potential to overwhelm the resources of the city of Walnut Creek exists because our community is being targeted. Our community is being targeted by people outside. And I don't know what policies exist in terms of mutual aid, but my concern specifically is that there is enough resources to protect both the downtown area and our neighborhoods, because I have heard rumors online about people looking to now target the neighborhoods of Walnut Creek. And so I am very concerned about the availability of resources. So I hope you'll take whatever proactive steps you can to call in whatever mutual aid is available from other districts, because people from other districts clearly are targeting our community in this. So thank you for what you're doing. I do agree as well that there needs to be more information flow to the citizens and a much more urgent, proactive approach to stay ahead of the curve on this situation. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. For those who are listening, and if they want to make a comment, they need to hit *9 on their phones so that it will come through. Would you bring forward the next person, please?
Okay, we have a Mad Citizen. Allow him to talk.
Okay.
Hello?
Hello, please go.
Yeah, I emailed the same question, and as that gentleman that blew up on the phone that you guys didn't answer, I'd just like to hear the answer to that question. I'm not going to yell and swear at you like he did, but I'd just like to hear what the answer is. You saw this not even on social network, and I know about this stuff. So I could have
Okay.
walked over like a broomstick and done better.
This is a public comment, and as a rule, the council may not respond to any questions delivered during public comment. So it is our job to listen and our job to process what you tell us and apply it in the future. So thank you for your comment. I appreciate it, and I appreciate your gentility as well. Thank you. All right, next speaker, please.
We have a Sarah. Sarah's coming in. Allowed to talk, Sarah.
Hi. So there was a protest scheduled for today from 3 to 5 p.m. at Civic Park, where a few of us have been planning to attend. But since then, we've learned that the legitimacy of the protest has been called into question after some people started researching the organizer's social media accounts. To me, it really harks back to 2016 when some Russian trolls were trying to organize gatherings just to create chaos. So my comment is that I hope the council is aware of these potentially criminal gatherings and can do their best to warn locals who might attend. Thank you all for what you're doing in holding this emergency town hall.
You're welcome. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is 510 phone number. I'll be bringing it in.
Yes, that's me. That's me. I'm Sherry, and I'm a citizen of Walnut Creek.
Sherry, we haven't started in a few minutes yet. Can I interrupt you? You have your microphone on your computer on as well as your phone, I believe. Turn one of them, well, turn the microphone on your computer off.
Okay, I did.
Oh, and that helps immensely. Now
All
we
right.
can hear you. I appreciate that. Time starts
Thank
now.
you so very much. I want to say that we do need a way to find out information. I didn't even know there was a curfew yesterday. So that's pretty important. But I want to say that people do have a right to peaceful demonstrations, but to destroy our community, and we've lived here and worked so hard to make it a wonderful community. We can't, it'll take ages to rebuild and find the money, and we're already fighting from COVID-19. I know we have a $12 million loss. If these people who steal, I mean, stealing is against the 10 Commandments. They have to be punished. The police didn't come. They even had it on the news that the police didn't come. And I thought, well, Walnut Creek doesn't have enough police, so why not get Concord, Lafayette, Orinda? Why not get Richmond? Why not get other police to help us? And I think it's important we have a curfew. And now I hear that maybe they're going to come to our neighborhoods. I live in Larkey Park. That's very frightening. We're seniors. We can't rebuild anymore. And I want to let you know, I've gone through the Walnut Creek citizenship training. I'm a docent at the Bedford. We do all kinds of things to support and help the community. I even pick up garbage because it upsets me so much when I see people trash our beautiful city. Please, please, this isn't against racism to put people in jail who are thieves and destructive. Thank you.
You're welcome. I didn't need to interrupt. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
And we have Chuck coming in here, allowing Chuck to talk. You there, Chuck?
Chuck, reminder to hit *9 if you want to talk to us.
Chuck's having audio issues, I believe. Oh, wait, here he comes.
Now, I push *9.
Thank you. Please go.
Yes, I just wanted to chime in. A 35-year resident of Walnut Creek, love the city, and I believe that everybody in the city government needs to take more proactive action to eliminate the threat of all these people that are taking innocent people and injuring them, hurting them, doing danger to our community. It needs to stop. Call in the Army. Call in the, whoever it is, National Guard. It's ridiculous that we're not taking more, stronger, and important action immediately. Don't wait around. this meeting should last half an hour and go on to the business and get these people in to protect our city. We love our city. I want it to continue to be a great city, and I wish and hope you do the same. Mucho esperanza. It's necessary to take action. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Next speaker, please.
We have a Galaxy notebook coming in. You there, Galaxy?
*9, please.
Here we
Yes,
go.
can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we hear
Yes,
you.
please go.
Yes, thank you. My name is Mike Gavin, and I'm a resident of Walnut Creek and also a business owner. And I was downtown yesterday during these protests, and I'm a little surprised that some people thought that the police department did not do a great job. I thought they might have showed up a few minutes late, but once they got there, they really took control of the situation, and they were really able to push these people out of our city. So I think they should be commended for the efforts that they put in yesterday. I thought they responded well, and they really kind of tried to protect the city as much as they can with what they were encountered with. I do think that we should be able to get a little bit of this information a little bit quicker and sooner, but overall, I think the police department and the PD should be commended for what they did yesterday in trying to protect the city as much as they could with the circumstance that they had ahead of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I call the next caller forward, I would like everybody who is listening to know that at the end of public comment, we're going to break precedent a little bit and ask the police chief to come and make a report. So if you are interested in hearing that, please stay with us. And now would you please bring the next public speaker forward?
We have Bob.
Yeah, this is Bob Norton. I'm a 35-year resident of Walnut Creek. And if anyone has watched the YouTube video of the looting behind Broadway Plaza, they can really conclude that the police response was not adequate. So I'm not sure what everybody's watching that concluded that the police did everything they could. It appeared to me that there was absolutely no police response. The number one responsibility of all of you and the police is to protect the residents, citizens, and the property of Walnut Creek. And yesterday, I think you totally failed. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
We have Charles Krelling.
It's already spoken by email.
Oh, yes. Okay. I'll mute him.
I just had a question, and maybe I missed.
And our next speaker is a 510 number.
Number one duty of the police is protect you.
I can hear you.
Howard,
We can hear you. Please go on.
our phone number,
Yes?
296-6145.
No. Who are you? And please give us your name.
Okay, the
and
number
where
one, I
you-
agree with the gentleman who was just on. The number one job, we need enough police. That number one job is the police come and protect us. More than even protecting downtown us. But my name is Howard.
Thank you, Howard.
Name what?
I said thank you. Please go
Howard
on.
Goldsmith. And what did you say? What was the other thing?
Where you live.
Hello?
Howard, I'm going to be really quiet. You go ahead and tell us what you want to tell us.
I think we lost him.
Don't give your last name.
Hello?
Yes, Howard, are you there?
26-6.
Yep.
I want, if there's going to be this, possibly to move out of downtown into the residential area, we need police for that also. I live at 2616. CS before.
Just say Larky Park area.
The Larky Park area.
That's great.
Right.
Thank you.
Not doing
Okay, I think that's all
Are
our
you-
speakers.
Okay. Oh, all right.
We got another one.
We have another one.
Martin?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I just wanted to thank you all for doing this. I'm a young resident in Walnut Creek, and I'm really passionate about the Black Lives Matter movement. And I was, obviously sad to see stores looted yesterday, and nobody wants that. I'll just say that while yes, property was taken and businesses were hurt, businesses have insurance, and windows can be repaired, and merchandise can be replaced, and these stores are going to get insurance payouts. The most important thing is protecting people's lives. So in any action that happens in the future, I would say, obviously, people who break the law should be held up to consequence. But I would just urge police to do their best to value, the human lives over property and human lives over whatever comes, and do their best to make sure that no one actually does come to be injured in any future protest or anything like that. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you all, and thank you to the Walnut Creek Police. I've never felt unsafe in Walnut Creek. I didn't feel unsafe yesterday when people were looting. I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. I believe that's the last of our public speakers, and I see that Chief Tom Chaplin is here. And Tom, would you give us a little update, please?
Absolutely, Mayor. Thank you for the opportunity. And I am Tom Chaplin, Police Chief of your Walnut Creek Police Department. I want to thank everybody for the comments. I want to ensure our community that we will first and foremost protect people that peacefully protest, allow that to happen. We understand the pain right now. We understand the difficult times people are experiencing and the emotions that they're feeling. We want to be part of that solution. And I want you to know I'm listening, and we are listening. So we have for days been monitoring chatter from open source that expressed an interest in visiting Walnut Creek. On many themes of that chatter was to do so with nefarious and ill intent. We have been planning accordingly. We have been messaging out accordingly. Yesterday, we had hundreds of officers here from not just our police department, but our regional allies. It has been all hands on deck. Our priority is to protect people, is to protect life. It is to do so in a way that keeps people safe and also protecting property, and at the same time protecting people's right to express their concern and sorrow for the horrific scenes that we have seen out of Minneapolis. I'm incredibly proud of this police department's response, the restraint shown by the police officers, and the true care and concern that was displayed for this community. Within minutes of this criminal activity occurring at multiple sections in this police department, our officers responded. During that same period of time, we had an individual that was shot in a drive-by shooting, so we were also dealing with that scene. We worked hard to protect this community. We'll continue to do so. We're planning today for people that show up to protest peacefully to ensure that they have that right and they're able to do so safely. We also want to let people know that we are, again, continuing to monitor what comes in and working in partnership with all of our regional partners to keep this community safe. And we have also been responsive to the needs of other communities by sending officers there to lend assistance. Please know we are committed to doing so. We are working hard to doing so. If there are a few minutes or a period of time where you do not see police present, please know we're on our way. But we will only do that in a way that is safe and contemplates keeping the situation less volatile and providing a safe environment for everybody. We did make arrests last night, and we have also worked diligently to solve the assault with a deadly weapon that was experienced. I would ask everybody today and in the coming days to please exercise caution in coming to our downtown area. Please be respectful of one another. We can get through this together, and violence and that activity will only exacerbate this situation where we should be getting our arms around one another, talking about the crucial issues that we have to talk about and trying to make meaningful change. For you, council, I appreciate the support you have shown this police department in the way it has responded, and to our partners in Public Works that has assisted us and responded. We are ready, willing, and able and committed to keeping our community safe. That's it from me, and I do appreciate the opportunity to share a few words.
Actually, Mayor, could I ask the chief one quick question, please? Thank you. Chief, it's Kevin Wilk, Mayor Pro Tem, and was wondering if you're able to address how we are able to follow on social media, at least the police department being able to see what's happening potentially, and if that gave any indication for last night. And I understand if you're not able to, but just any words that you could provide people to understand a little bit more.
Well, we were made aware of various comments that were being disseminated via social media by a variety of sources, to include people sharing those comments with us, to include things that we saw ourselves, and to include actively watching for threatening comments and those that revealed a malicious intent. We continue to do so, but we are working again with our own team and with those members of the community that care passionately, not just for the issues surrounding police brutality and how to eradicate that, but also for sensible discourse and dialogue and keeping the community safe. So we do encourage people to share that information with us. I do know that businesses and people in our neighborhoods are feeling scared, are feeling nervous. We are not alone in feeling that, as we've seen by watching the disturbing images on the news. Communities throughout the country are feeling the same. So we are committed to ferreting through information that is sent through us, finding actionable information, and also holding accountable those people that would cause issues and violence and crime in our community.
Your mute's on.
I picked you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief, for the update. A couple of questions. What we were able to see from our homes last night was no different than what the residents were able to see, which is we could see newscasts, we could see what the helicopter was able to pick up. And I know it was frustrating a couple times to realize that things were happening and it did look like there was no police presence because a helicopter was picking something up on Broadway. Can you give us a sense of how many people were involved in this? And then how large our police department is and how quickly you were able to deploy and how quickly where mutual aid came from? And can you share, are you allowed to share how many people were arrested versus moved along? Because I can understand that sense from the news broadcasting of what was happening. It's different than being able to listen to the police dispatch line.
So first I'd like to share, and thank you, Council Member Silva, for the question. I would like to share that this is not a simple task, responding to these situations. It's not as if we have a group of people that calls and declares we will be at this location at this time. We have officers deployed throughout the community We have over 80 sworn police officers, including myself, that are available, and we have many of our officers on duty. I can tell you that I reached out to my colleagues throughout the region to express that there were concerns that we could have issues in the community, and please provide us resources if we need them. Of course, people began arriving quickly and at different areas. So we had officers on duty that began responding. The call for mutual aid went out quickly. I personally heard from the sheriff's department that they had diverted 40 units that were en route to provide assistance to another county, to Walnut Creek. I think it's fair to say that we had personnel here from all of our regional partners, to include the California Highway Patrol, the sheriff, the local municipal police departments. We had everybody here. We had everybody from the police department that we could have, knowing full well that we had to have another group ready to go this morning for trying to keep the planned protest peaceful. So in terms of the number of arrests or citations, I don't have that number at hand. When we have some of those specifics, I will be happy to share them. We're still right now meeting and planning and bringing additional resources into Walnut Creek today. But please know as well, resources have been sent all over to the Bay Area counties. So it is difficult to have a large volume of officers to be present and on standby for spontaneous events. You know, there were businesses preparing, and that was based on things they've heard or seen from other businesses, so that they were, out of an abundance of caution, making decisions to close early or to board up their stores. We have sent out additional clarifying information and recommendations for businesses with this concern, but we will be working to bring all of this information together in an after-action report. I do also want to share, because I failed to earlier, in addition to creating lines to control ingress and egress and protect infrastructure to protect people, we did have a variety of resources available. We did employ drones to monitor, where certain areas were, where flashpoints were. We did have also the Contra Costa County Fire District was embedded in our command post, and we had officers coming in throughout the evening as we called for aid. I would say that we had ample resources soon after the criminal activity began, and that continued for the next several hours as we built those resources and responded to the various locations in the city where we were seeing activity.
So may I ask another question? I walked downtown this morning and walked back, and it's appeared that there were hot spots all over downtown, as well as Target and all the way up on North Main, because I heard on the news something about the Walgreens at North Main and Gary. So this was distributed. It wasn't all centralized and then being able to follow people from a central point. Am I describing that correctly? This just, people arrived where they arrived and it started?
That is entirely accurate. And the waves were sustained and at different places throughout, primarily the downtown corridor. But they did,
which is probably a mile by a mile. It's a large area. So thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Waddell, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and of course, thank you to the chief and all the men and women in blue that are out there risking their lives to ensure that we are as safe as possible. I appreciate that. I have two specific questions. One is about the local neighborhoods. There's been multiple comments on the possibility of looting or other nefarious activities going on in local neighborhoods. Do you have any idea? Is this a legitimate threat? Is this something we should be concerned about? And then if so, what precautions are you taking to ensure the safety of our neighborhoods?
We are absolutely concerned. Anytime somebody makes those types of threats, it causes us to have an enhanced level of concern. I ask people to be wary. Call us immediately if there are any issues noted, and know that we're going to respond there with speed and to work to protect people. So the event last night at one point did reach towards a neighborhood, but the group did not really go there. We did have officers that were present the entire time as well to try to protect against that possibility. And I'm sorry, Council Member Waddell, I missed the second question.
I was just talking about if this is a legitimate concern of the PD, what activities are you taking? And it seems like you covered that we're going to have normal patrols going on independent of what's going on in our downtown. I think I'm reading into what you said, but I think it was the gist of it.
Right. I think that's an important thing. If I can just add to that, I'm always going to be realistic about what we can do. And please remember, we also have police officers responding to emergency calls for service as a matter of routine. So when we're talking about resources, where they are, how quickly they can be there, we did have officers embedded in near the Broadway Plaza last night and brought additional officers there quickly. But we do have, a 20 some odd square mile city to police, and we do have officers assigned to other locations, and we are trying to be very aware of this concern and, to the extent we can, enhance patrols in the neighborhoods.
Thank you. I said I had two questions, but I lied. I really have three. So here's my second one. Looking at the Twitter activity and the online activity last night, there seems to be a lot of video available about people being able to drive in, either in teams or individually loot, get back in their cars and drive away. What actions are you putting into place to try to combat those nefarious activities?
Well, last night when that was occurring, we did a couple of things. We closed the Walnut Creek BART station as a stop, and we had our colleagues with CHP that were closing off-ramps into the city. We are also going to follow up. We have many leads. We have many people that are reporting what they've seen, sharing information with us about those responsible. There is not an elegant solution to this problem, but what we are doing is ensuring that we are making it difficult to park in the downtown by effectively shutting down the downtown area to the and we are focused on those gathering locations where it looks like people are parking to go out and to commit criminal activity, or that did yesterday.
So it sounds like the traditional downtown core downtown area is being blocked off to all car traffic?
To the extent we can. Last night we effectively closed off the downtown area. That will be our plan today if that is necessary. I do encourage people to avoid that area. There are groups that might be standing by to watch and see what happens. I do please recommend due and extreme caution about that activity. It is, tensions are fraught right now, and the activity, some people did have, objects to cause damage to windows and buildings yesterday, excuse me. And of course, I mentioned earlier the shooting. So that is making, I think, a volatile situation all the worst. So to the extent we can, we are going to limit vehicle traffic into the downtown area.
And are we shutting down BART or requesting that BART get shut down again today?
If that is necessary, I have spoken with the BART police chief already this morning, and they are on standby if that occurs.
And my last question, and this was brought up by one or a multitude of the public commenters today. We're seeing in other municipalities, LA, I think called them in yesterday, the National Guard. At what point is the inflection point to have that conversation?
We have been in contact to the extent of the National Guard's property here in Walnut Creek. So that is, protected and staffed by the National Guard. I would have to get back to you on any specifics about requesting a response. I'm confident in our response thus far and in the mutual aid that we've received, and also from our community members that even today came out and were sweeping up glass and were trying to do their part to keep things safe and calm. I know we have a lot of members of our community that are, again, extremely troubled and are actively at the table with us trying to create better solutions to many of the problems we've seen. And I know those voices for calm and for reason and for collaboration and for love over hate are helping, I think, immensely in keeping people safe as well. So I'm hoping that that continues. If there comes a time we need to request resources beyond what we're already doing and calling for help from our community, I will alert the council to that and let you know what those steps are and what that might look like.
Thanks, Chief. And again, please pass my appreciation. I'm sure I speak for the rest of the council too, our appreciation to everyone, including the supporting agencies, for all the hard work and dedication that we have seen, and I'm sure, and I know we'll continue to see.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience. Matt, it's your turn.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Chief, for all that you're doing in these difficult times. I also am extremely appreciative that you're at the helm at this particular time, and the letter you wrote to the community about the lawless and senseless death of George Floyd. So that I appreciate you sharing those thoughts. My questions have to do mostly with the protest. Was the looting activity last night connected in any way to any form of a peaceful protest, timing wise or otherwise?
I don't think so. But what I will say is there were moments later where we did have groups, some larger groups, that were what I described acting at that moment in a peaceful manner. Marching or walking in unison in certain directions. Unfortunately, it becomes difficult to distinguish who is involved in the criminal activity and who is not. So we would, at the same time, we had crime occurring on one side of the street, a group would be standing there watching and perhaps sharing their opinions with us. And then that same group might later be involved in criminal activity after the other group was moved along. So that's made it a tad difficult, but I do not think that was how that started, was as a result of a peaceful intent.
And so, thank you. And then along those lines, you don't have concerns then with the protest that's scheduled for this afternoon?
I don't have concerns about the well-intentioned, caring, good-hearted people that are trying to be heard and affect change. I have extreme concern about people that would take advantage of this moment to commit criminal activity, to make people less safe, I think that's abhorrent, and I think that is what I am concerned about, that under the guise of peaceful protest, others would show up with ill intent. And that is why we have asked for people to remain calm, to encourage them to have their voices heard, but to also do what they can to thwart, to discourage, and to speak reason to people that are taking advantage of the terrible moment we're in as a result of the killing of George Floyd to commit crime. And that is especially hard when they get interrelated. With what we're seeing right now is, remember, we had calls for a peaceful protest that led to groups talking about coming here and committing crime. So that is absolutely a concern. And it should be noted that we are, again, intent to keep those peacefully protesting safe. And at the same time, if other things are occurring, we have got to then assign resources to deal with that. This is also going on, in other communities. So those resources we call upon, again, are stretched thin.
Just two more, Chief. Then I wanted to, in terms of the response yesterday that you mentioned, you had been monitoring online chatter over the weekend and seen an increase there. And as a result of that, you and others in the city gave notice to property owners and business owners that there might be civil unrest and that they should take precautions to protect their businesses, such as boarding up windows and things like that.
Correct. And encouraging businesses, not to open today. We had communicated with Walnut Creek downtown. They had provided, shared that email with their members. We also sent out an email this morning encouraging people to refrain from the downtown area, recommended that businesses were closed today, and provided some other guidance in terms of protecting their property and removing items that might be used to cause damage.
And I appreciate that. I was in Broadway Plaza this morning, and the head of security for Gap and related stores indicated that he had gotten that message, and the people that were supposed to come to put up the boards unfortunately didn't come yesterday. They were scheduled to. So I just wanted you to know that. Finally, in terms of the action item we're taking today, how is it that this curfew will help you and the police department do its job?
I would say, and last night, what we saw was there are people that still refuse to leave. And sometimes the people that refuse to leave are involved in the criminal acts that we witnessed last night. This provides us two opportunities. The first is to advise the community that they should stay in their homes and not be traveling after certain hours, based solely on the fact that we witnessed events last night that would put people at jeopardy. And I mentioned there were times where we had other activity that was causing people to be unsafe. So it's advisory for them. It's also a tool that we could use if we had people refusing to leave that are involved in criminal activity. I would be delighted if we experienced a peaceful protest and we experienced no real need to have to utilize the curfew other than advisory. We've shown, even with the county health order, that it's our job to provide education and compliance and to police with this community and not police at this community. So this is a tool for those that continue to violate our request to please leave, please stop committing criminal activity, please give us an opportunity to keep this community and to keep everybody safe. So it is a tool that we can use. I think it would be used infrequently. And to me, success would be if we did not have to use it at all or make any arrests. Unfortunately, some of the behavior we've seen has not made that allowance for us.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We have closed public comment. We appreciate deeply the chief's report, and I am now going to let everybody know that we are going to start the closed part of our closed session. This Zoom meeting will remain open because we are obligated to come back and report out if there is any action taken by the council. So if you want to stay and listen to the music or whatever happens here, and we're going to do our work as council members and go for a closed session. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you very much for your comments, and we'll see you in a little bit or a lot later. Other one. This is the closed part of the closed session. Not bad, not bad at all. Waiting to count noses. Susie, do we have the public comment before the announcement? Or maybe I should ask Steve. Does the public comment come after the announcement or before the announcement?
I don't think Steve's on yet, Mayor.
Okay. Okay, I'm getting notices that the governor is going to talk to League of Cities at 2:30 about the same thing we're coping with.
Mayor, I heard your question. The council can take the public comments. In this one, I would recommend that we make the staff report first,
Okay.
and then council take the public comments.
Thank you. Appreciate the help. Still waiting for 2 council members? Yes, 2 council members. Susie, please let Councilmember Silva in. Oh, she is. Okay.
I found her.
And is Matt hanging out? The other Matt? Yep, there they are. They're both here.
And Matt Bolander, just a reminder to unpause.
Thanks,
okay. Are we there? Do I do 15 seconds?
We are ready to go now.
Okay. Welcome back. We have finished our closed session, and I am now asking if there is any report as a result of the closed session. City Attorney Mattis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There is no reportable action from closed session.
Okay. And we do what now? Do we make a motion?
So we have the next item on the agenda
Okay.
is the council's consideration of a resolution that would be ratifying the emergency declarations that were adopted by the city manager in his role as Director of Emergency Services yesterday.
Right.
Those declarations cover both a declaration of local emergency associated with the civil unrest, including the property damage and theft and looting that occurred yesterday, as well as a second order that imposed a city curfew that began last night at 6 p.m. and is scheduled to go through June 8th. The council has a resolution in your packet that would allow the council to ratify those emergency declarations. And the staff would recommend that the council adopt those with one minor change. We would change point 2 on the second page, where it presently ends with from June 1st, 2020 through June 8th, 2020, to reflect from June 2nd, 2020 through June 8th, 2020. What that would mean is that the curfew, as ratified, would go into place at 6 o'clock this evening, and then starting again tomorrow, it would be at 8 o'clock every evening, and each night it would continue through until 5 a.m. The curfew itself does apply citywide, so it applies to all activity. There are specified exemptions to the curfew order that include obviously law enforcement personnel, firefighting personnel, emergency healthcare providers, individuals engaged in police or emergency work, individuals traveling to and from work, and individuals traveling for the purposes of seeking urgent or emergency medical care. That was part of the amendment that the city manager issued last night. And the media would also be exempt, as would persons who are suffering homelessness. With that, the resolution is ready for consideration, and staff is available to answer any questions that the council may have.
Thank you. Does the council have any other questions? And if there is additional questions or comments, when they're finished, we will then open the discussion to public comment again. Remember, this is audio only. This is 2 minutes, and you need to hit *9 if you choose to make comments. So start with the council. Are there additional questions or comments? Seeing none, we will now open the public comment.
Okay, we have Steve Elster.
Thank you.
This is Steve Elster in the Woodlands. I would just like to suggest I guess 2 minor changes to the prefatory section of the resolution. The section that reads, whereas the finding of extreme peril to the safety of persons and property is supported by the following facts. And fact C, which says posts on social media sites, including Twitter, indicating that protests are being organized in Walnut Creek, that seems like a distinct fact. And I don't think the mere fact that protests are being planned in Walnut Creek justifies a resolution. And just let me say, I'm in favor of the resolution. Just, I think this fact is, I think to some extent it may not be consistent with free speech rights. Secondly, Part C goes on to say that some protesters are being encouraged to act in a violent and destructive manner. It's my impression from what I've seen in the media that the looting that has gone on is distinct from the protests, and I think that too should be reflected in this Part C. So I would suggest not stating protests as grounds for the resolution and making clear that the looting is not, that it is distinct from the protests. What I saw in the media yesterday, protests seemed quite peaceful. I believe that was before the looting began.
Thank you. I appreciate the input. Would you bring the next speaker forward?
Okay, we have San Francisco Kamal.
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon, me again. I was curious if you were able to discuss in your closed meeting. If you were, and you've mentioned it, and I missed it, I apologise. But if you're able to formulate a plan, at least at a minimum, to have one single source of truth that I and others can go to one website or one medium in order to find out exactly what is going on, instead of trawling Twitter, looking at multiple Walnut Creek official Twitter pages, looking at unofficial pages, etc., etc. Just something to let the wider populace know what is going on and plans that you may have to publicize that page. Has anything happened in that respect?
City Manager, would you like to respond to that, please?
Yes, I would. Dan Buckshire, City Manager, and I would direct folks to our City of Walnut Creek website, which, as you can find, is at walnut-creek.org. We are updating information regularly as it becomes available, not only for these events, but also for the COVID-19 related matters that we are still dealing with. And so that is the best source of information at this point in time from the City of Walnut Creek.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mayor,
Member Silva, yes.
Dan, can you also elaborate if all of our social media information then is consistent with the website? So the website is the foundation and all of our social media is built off of that?
Yes, we do have Facebook and Twitter accounts and Instagram as well. I would also note that there have been some fake accounts that were created relative to the potential protests and or the riots and looting that occurred yesterday. We have worked with the social media companies to have those removed. So at this point, I believe the website is the best source of information, and assuming that there are no future false accounts in the name of the City of Walnut Creek, that our social media accounts are a good secondary source as well.
Thank you. I see that there are no people asking to be heard. Is that a fair judgment?
Yes, but we do have one written public comment.
Then may we have that put in the record?
Sure, this comes from Maisha. Thank you for the quick response on this matter regarding the violence. As a person of color living in the City of Walnut Creek, the restrictions that you are wanting to place as far as a curfew are scary for me and my partner. I understand protecting the community from violence, but the way this order will be enforced is what scares me. Police on the streets right now is scary. Is there any way to protect people of color in the city and to make sure we are not targeted in the city because of the curfew or the violence that happened downtown?
May I ask the City Manager to approach this question?
I would just add that the curfew applies to everyone and applies citywide. And it is not targeted towards any particular individual or groups of individuals. So it is targeted citywide, and the curfew did help considerably yesterday when it was put into effect to help with the looting that was occurring downtown. It did allow the police department to have the additional authority to have folks leave the downtown area, which did dramatically improve the PD's response, because it would have been challenging to do so otherwise. So that's my feedback at this point in time.
Thank you. And what I would have guessed would be the right answer, and is the right answer. It is not aimed at anybody who is honoring the curfew, and it's not aimed at anybody in particular. It's just there. I believe we have a matter that I'm bringing back to council now, and that is to ratify the items as changed. Before I do that, City Attorney, would you please respond to the questions about the amendments?
Yes, I can speak to Mr. Elster's comments. He's referencing finding C on page 1 of the resolution. The portion of that sentence that notes that protests are being organized in Walnut Creek is factual and is present on messages that were on Twitter. And so I don't recommend the council change that. But if you wanted to take that out, you could, but I don't think you need to. As to the remainder of that sentence where it says that some protesters are being encouraged to act in a violent and destructive manner, if the council wished to change the word protesters to attendees, I would understand that. In reality, with the protests that have happened throughout the state, some of the illegal activity, in particular looting, damaging public property, damaging other property, has risen out of the protest activity. And that is quite possible for Walnut Creek as well too. But if the council wished to change the word protesters to attendees in that second line of sub C, I think that would be acceptable. Otherwise, I wouldn't recommend you make any changes beyond the one change that I noted when I made the staff report about the start of the curfew today being 6 o'clock.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from the council? All right, then I would like a motion to ratify.
Move to adopt the resolution with the changes noted by Mr. Mattis, and the change in sub C to change the word from protesters to attendees.
Second.
Okay, well, may I have a roll call to officially do this job?
Councilmember Waddell.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilk.
Aye.
Councilmember Francois.
Aye.
Councilmember Silva.
Aye.
And Mayor Haskew.
Aye. I
Motion
believe
carries.
that- Thank you. I'm sorry, didn't mean to step on your line. I believe that brings us to the conclusion of the meeting. Since it is a change in a published amount of time for tonight's curfew over what was published before this meeting, please everybody notify whomever you think it would be important to hear. And it will be noted on our website, and it will go to the police officers as well. So thank you for your efforts. Thank everyone. I pray tonight is especially peaceful and that words of wisdom are allowed to bubble up to the top. Thank you very much for your attendance. This meeting is adjourned.